Welcome to Intuitive Astrology with Molly McCord. Thank you so much for joining me today as we're going to focus on a very interesting topic of Saturn entering Pisces, which occurs March 7th, 2023, and Saturn will stay in Pisces until February 2026. So we are embarking on a new 3-year cycle of energies through Pisces, and it's a very fascinating cycle that we're going to discuss and look at in today's show. I am only going to focus on the energies of Saturn in Pisces in 2023, meaning we will look at how this Saturn energy moves from 0 to 7 degrees of Pisces, then retrogrades back to 0 degrees of Pisces before moving ahead. And that is important to note, especially if you have planets or points in the first 7 degrees of Pisces. This will be important for you to understand how Saturn will be working with you. And then in another episode further down the line, I'll do more on this topic where we will look at Saturn in Pisces as it moves through the rest of the zodiac in the following years. So we're going to discuss the Saturn entering Pisces, moving to 7 degrees of Pisces. And again, as I mentioned, what's really fascinating here is that we've had an ongoing cycle of planets in Pisces. And I have done a separate podcast episode for you on this topic that describes how we've had a Pisces parade, a parade of planets moving through Pisces that started most recently in 2003. In 2003, Uranus entered Pisces, where it stayed until 2010. Then in 2011, we had both Chiron and Neptune enter Pisces. Chiron stayed in Pisces in 2019, and we are still journeying through Neptune and Pisces until 2026. So the Pisces areas of your chart have had a lot of change, transition, inconsistency. The Pisces energies that we are working through are helping us continue to move through age of Pisces energies, the energies that came up and we've been experiencing from other lifetimes, other timelines. And here we are completing those cycles, closing things out, ending karma, moving through soul contracts, realizing what we're complete with, what we're free from, what we're ready to let go of, how we're meant to continue to rise up, to keep spiraling up. And the Pisces energy also opens us up to more of our spiritual gifts and intuition, how you are always connected to the vibration of your higher self, how we are beautiful spiritual beings in this physical world, learning to navigate with all of our energy, all of our senses. Pisces is also very creative, artistic, imagination is strong in the Pisces energies. And so we've also been opening up to new potentials to connect with, new dreams coming in and coming through, new ways to manifest and work with our energy, perhaps also learning how to do things differently because something has been played out, we've lived through it, we've experienced it, we've let it go, and now we're ready for the next version to come alive. Pisces, being the 12th and final sign of the astrological wheel, is about completions and endings. It's about looking at what you've learned, what you've really come to understand about yourself and your energy, what you want to take forward with you, and what to leave behind, what is dissolving and being removed. And that is a strong theme with Pisces, with these endings, the energetic endings and transitions that we have to move through in order to keep going, in order to have that new cycle begin and come through when the planet enters Aries. So with Saturn entering Pisces, it's traveling behind these planets that have already moved through your chart in this energy theme. And also important to note that most recently we had Jupiter in Pisces in 2022. So we've had this Pisces parade of planets since 2003, and now here comes Saturn. Saturn walks in the door, and I have to tell you, I got a very funny visual here around how this energy looks. Now, Pisces can be very much about illusions, propaganda, where we want to disconnect from the real world or the heaviness, density, or burdens of the matrix, of the energies of the 3D that we don't even want to interact with or connect with, but we might still be surrounded by it. Pisces is where we look for another outlet, another way to experience energies that helps us disconnect. And Pisces being about how we escape, where we go, what we go to or go towards that gives us a break, maybe a mental break, energetic break. But Pisces is where we're looking to connect with other energetic realms. And so it's also about fantasy and illusions, glamour. The entertainment industry is a Pisces archetypal theme. How beauty has been idealized, how certain standards have been created that aren't even healthy for our psyche, that aren't even realistic. All of this is Pisces. It's also related to, as I said, propaganda and questioning things. What is true? What is not true? Is this factual? Is this real? Or are we just being inundated with so much information and so many messages that we can't figure out what's real? It's harder to navigate through the fog and the mist and all these energies that seem to be bringing up confusion. And there could be parts of us that seek that out, that enjoy that part of energies or those kinds of experiences. Especially if you have strong Pisces in your natal chart, meaning you have planets or points in Pisces. This is actually even truer for you if you have any of the personal planets in Pisces. So if you have Sun, Moon, Mercury, Venus, or Mars in Pisces, then there's a part of you who enjoys this realm. You're here to experience the highest expressions of Pisces, although that often includes the territory of the lowest expressions too. And so with this energy shift, with Saturn entering Pisces, the image I got was of a nightclub. Okay, so you go into a nightclub and there's the music pounding and the lights are turned down low. Maybe there's a fog machine going. There is a lot happening that you can't quite see, but you sense it and you feel it. Everyone's dressed up and in their best attire. There is typically alcohol pouring or other energies involved that are also very much about Pisces. Pisces is about the substances we use to disconnect from reality. And so, of course, you can pull in any variety of substances or alcohol that falls under the Pisces theme. And so in this nightclub, it's very Pisces. This is like the desire to have fun, take a break, not think about work, not think about things that are stressful. Just enjoy, be free, let loose, dance, have fun. And then here comes Saturn. And Saturn walks in the door, turns off the music, unplugs the fog machine, flips on all the lights, and party's over. Saturn kills a vibe when it walks into an astrology sign for the first time. It kills a vibe. And so what we're going to see are the lights turning on here. And Saturn walks in the door. And just imagine that happening in a bar, a club, anywhere where you're in these Pisces energies, how quickly things shift. And the lights go on and maybe you feel like blinded by the lights, right? You're used to darkness. You're used to things being a little bit easier on the eyes. Now you have the bright, stark lights on and it can be blinding. And you look around the environment and you're like, you know what? This place isn't so glamorous after all. It's kind of gross. And you look on the floor and you see all the trash and what's been spilled. And you look at the people and you're like, these people aren't so sexy when the lights are turned on. And then you're in this unexpected reality check that catches you off guard. And Saturn has a permit or something posted that says we're shutting down this place because you haven't even paid your rent. You're not even paying your bills. And so this would be one way to understand Saturn entering Pisces, is that there's something about the illusion that's over. There's something about what isn't real that's exposed. And this is where Saturn can be very jolting. and startling and unexpected. And all of a sudden you're like, what just happened? Everything just changed. There was a shift here. And now I'm looking around at all these things that are connected to the Pisces illusion or propaganda or glamour or entertainment. And you realize it's not that at all. So Saturn entering Pisces gives us some kind of wake-up call around the illusions that perhaps we've even enjoyed. Perhaps the things that we've subscribed to and we've enjoyed witnessing or participating in, some energies that maybe we were fine being ignorant. We were fine being in the dark, so to speak, and not having all the details. But Saturn comes in and says, you've got to look at this now. And this is what's really going on. This is what's really happening. This is what you need to see. So no more fog light, even though you maybe want to cuddle with it. No more fog light. We're turning off the music. All the strobe lights have been shut down. All of this smoke and energy in here needs to be cleared out. This place looks trashy. And that's it. Party's over. So I realize this could sound a little bit harsh, but that's kind of the intention with Saturn. And keep in mind, we have been in these strong Pisces energies since 2003. And this is the first time that Saturn is walking in the door with his permits, shutting things down, making sure that everything is actually in order and is being responsibly managed. And so when we take this example and we apply it to the energy of Saturn moving from Aquarius into Pisces, this is when we're going to see more businesses closing, more shutdowns occurring. And that's because Saturn has been testing various industries while in Aquarius. Saturn has been providing ways of either solving solutions, developing a new strategy, moving ahead, where even businesses have needed to get online, or everyone has been doing Zoom calls, or things have had to shift into more Aquarius energies in order to see if they're stable, if they can continue, if they're going to have an ongoing function, if they're still going to be useful. And if not, Saturn entering Pisces closes the doors. So we're going to see more businesses shutting down, perhaps even moving online or changing their whole format. We're going to see more retail stores closing because they couldn't pass the tests. They couldn't reconfigure their business or adjust to the changing economy. We're going to see more things closing, probably more nightclubs and some bars and restaurants and places where people would go and hang out. If they're not able to pay their bills, if they're not sustainable going forward, Saturn in Pisces shuts them down. And that's going to be part of what we see here over the next 3 years as we move through this Pisces cycle and Saturn brings in what works and what does not work. We're also seeing Saturn testing other Aquarius energies. And I did 2 other podcasts for you talking about Saturn in Aquarius. And this is important because as the energy moves forward, whatever Saturn has been working with in Aquarius, there comes to a point that it's either you continue on and you shift, transition, and elevate, which is Pisces, or you close it down. It's done. It's over. And in fact, because I live in Florida, I have been witnessing this occur as well with Disney World, where the Disney Corporation, which is Aquarius, has been very tested. And in fact, their business has had to be restructured because of the taxes they haven't paid. There's a lot going on in Florida with Disney World. And so I've been watching that as one example of Saturn in Aquarius. And then Saturn moves into Pisces, and there's things about the illusion, again, that are no longer sustainable. So it's important to understand that this is where we're going to have choice points. This is where we're going to be assessing in our own life, in our own world, what stays and what closes. Saturn actually is about what is not able to keep going forward because it's not strong enough. It doesn't have the foundation. It isn't established enough. And so that is why the energy will end or close out. Saturn is also not interested in potential. It's sort of like Saturn entering Pisces. There's this energy of, okay, you gave it your best shot, or all right, good job. You tried, you went for it, and this is the reality. This is the return or the ROI. This is what has been working for you, but this is what's not. So you have some big choice points to make here. And often Saturn in Pisces is more about what needs to go. Again, what's closing out, what's over, what's ending. And that's because there's the opportunity here to be set free, to feel like there's freedom and that you don't have to carry it. It's no longer meant to be something that you have to push through or figure out. Saturn gives you that really clear understanding of what is worth your time, energy, and resources and what is not. And so Saturn entering Pisces can bring up the reality of loss, the reality of, all right, I thought this had potential. I thought this was going to go somewhere, but the reality is it's not. There isn't energy to sustain it. So we're looking at something in our lives and in our world, especially the world at large, where the closures are going to happen, but they're right on time, especially when we connect it to the astrological cycle. One of Saturn's favorite phrases is do not disturb. Do not continue that cycle. Do not go down this path. Do not give your power away. Do not hold back the energy that truly supports you, fortifies you, develops you. Saturn has standards. And when it moves into the next astrology sign, there can be an abrupt do not in some area of your life. And because in Pisces, it's the completion of a cycle, this is the ending of karmic patterns and attachments. These are things clearing out that Saturn is saying, do not put any more energy towards that. Do not further commit or do not continue in a certain cycle that isn't really serving you anymore, that is actually requiring you to sacrifice more than you receive, that isn't honoring your path or who you are. Saturn wants us to really feel strong in our energy field. And so that's why we get these do not messages in order to cut back, conserve, focus in, be more discerning. There can also be the theme here that Saturn might feel like he's calling you out on something you haven't wanted to look at. And again, remember, Saturn's going to kill a vibe here. You know, the nightclub vibe gets shut down. And there's kind of this, what was I thinking? What was I doing? What was I expecting? It is an energy that wants us to face where we subscribed to certain illusions, distractions, escapism, certain addictions. Things come up during Pisces that we haven't been able to look at, and Saturn is going to bring it right front and center because Saturn wants you to take responsibility for all of your energy and to also ensure that you're aware of where your energy is going out and perhaps not coming back in. This is where Pisces can be so self-sacrificing and giving and compassionate and kind, but to its own detriment. Rose-tinted glasses are Pisces. Even giving somebody the benefit of the doubt or a second chance, and you go into that good guy, good girl mode where you're like, well, maybe it'll be different, or maybe there will be something here that changes. Remember, Saturn doesn't like the word potential. Saturn cannot spell that word. That word does not exist because Saturn is about right here, right now, what is. What is in front of you? What is the reality? What is being displayed or chosen or said? That is where Saturn's consciousness resides. So we're going to have reality checks about our own unconscious illusions, what we have thought was possible or what we thought was potential. And then there's going to be a feeling perhaps of the energy running out, where you're just like, yeah, never mind, no way. Or you could feel exhausted, or you could feel run down. You could feel even in your body that your body is ready for a break. Pisces is about health. It's about the parts of ourselves that need to be tended to and cared for. It's about illness, viruses, STDs, things that are transmuted and shared, things that are unhealthy or take us out of our healthy habits. And so Saturn entering Pisces brings our awareness to these parts of our own energy field, and again wants us to care for ourselves, doesn't want us to overdo, overgive, overprovide for others to the point of self-sacrificing or to the point of self-sabotaging. So if there have been self-sabotaging cycles in place, or sabotaging a particular area of your life or part of your needs or your truth or who you are, again, Saturn's going to bring that front and center for you to look at and be aware of, and to reclaim your power, to reclaim your authority. Also asking you to be very honest with yourself and to hold yourself accountable. Oh, Saturn loves the word accountable. So Saturn doesn't say the word potential. Saturn says accountable, responsible, committed, mature. And these energies are coming up now in the Pisces parts of your chart so that you can be very honest with yourself about where you're ready to do things differently, where you're ready to do it better, where you are ready to elevate and to really own your standards based in reality, while understanding too that one of your most important areas of empowerment is simply your own energy. And to look at where your energy goes out to others, to the world, to your job, to anywhere in your environment, where your energy goes out but to your own detriment, where again, you don't feel it coming back in, or it just perhaps feels like you're depleted. It's like this leaking energy sensation. And Saturn is saying, you don't have to do that anymore. You don't have to self-sacrifice. You don't have to carry the burdens, but you are accountable for what you are choosing. You are accountable for your own energy and your own path. And what have you learned in the past 30-year cycle that is especially important to look at and understand within yourself? And that's because it takes Saturn about 30 years to move through the full zodiac wheel. And that is more pronounced when Saturn is in Pisces, as it's closing out the energies that started when Saturn was in Aries. Saturn was last in Aries starting in 1998. And so if you want to look at it through that timeline, you could see what journey you've been on since 1998 that is now winding down and shifting and evolving. And this can certainly be looking at all the different parts of your life that you have developed or built or grown, all the experiences you've had, everything Saturn has been teaching you through showing up, moving through challenges, honoring your responsibilities, becoming more responsible with your energy. Also looking at how much you've matured, especially on a spiritual path, because spirituality is also about ongoing responsibility with your energy, with your truth, with your own growth. So we're moving into a new 3-year cycle here with Saturn entering Pisces that shows us what we have completed and what we no longer want to take forward. It served its purpose. It taught you a lot. It showed you more about your capabilities, your skills, your talents, what you're good at, what you're not so good at, what you don't want, what you're not choosing, where you're letting things be complete and over for your best and highest good. So Saturn moving into Pisces is also going to show us how we are walking our spiritual talk, how we are truly animating these energies and living from them, living with them. These energies being part of what we practice, how we are becoming more conscious. Because the truth is, the path of consciousness is the harder path. It's not the easier path. It's not the simple path. It's not the one that everyone chooses or everyone practices. It could be the path that everyone talks a big game and they know the vocab words to say, they know the key phrases to come across as if they're spiritual or conscious or mindful. But true spirituality is something that we practice. We live from it. We bring it into our physical world. We're more mindful of our energy and more conscious of who we are. Also, part of this energy is that Saturn brings a slowdown. There's a slowing down here and tuning in, tapping in to not only the Pisces areas of your chart, but how you're living from your spiritual energies in a responsible way. How you're really walking the talk. You're not a spiritual poser. You're not just out there giving the looks or saying the things and pretending to be something. This is where there's going to be some things that become beautifully clear around what has been an illusion and what is real. And the gifts are going to be in what is real, because Saturn rewards results, rewards what has really been invested in, what has really been something that you've been managing and responsible for. And Saturn acknowledges when things have been tough. So I feel like this Saturn entering Pisces, I'm actually getting the visual right now of a report card. And Saturn is a mentor, an authority, a teacher. Saturn is an elder, but I feel it as the elder within your own energy. It's your own spiritual maturity. It's your own elder archetype. The mature, wise part of you is holding a report card. And that's because, again, Pisces is an ending energy. It's a completion. And here at the end of this semester, the Saturn semester, you get a report card. And chances are Saturn gives you some very clear feedback. You did wonderful with these experiences or these areas of your life. There's some things over here. We got to improve it. We got to do this differently. There's things that you're still developing, but I'm going to need you to show up more, participate more, give it your all. Saturn gives us that kind of feedback so that we can truly work with everything that we are. Saturn also wants us to get a plan in motion, wants us to have a strategy, because Saturn is about how are you going to do this? How are you going to get there? And it could be something where you're looking at your financial energy, money, investments, finances, the paycheck you make, the money you spend, and perhaps there's things that you want to change here. You want to improve your credit score. You want to save more money. You want to have better investments. Saturn says, all right, let's put a plan together to do this better. And that could be part of your report card. That could be something that you're understanding, that you're learning through, and now you're making new commitments in order to take care of those parts of your life. And in Pisces, it's helping you with what needs to go, what you're done with, what isn't paying off, what isn't a good investment, what actions, behaviors, or choices are not truly reflecting who you are, what you want, or what matters to you. And these are the things that we need to shift and change. These are the parts of our lives that will close down, and that Saturn will shut down, especially if you've spiritually outgrown it. And I think that's a really important thing here. In fact, that feels like a very positive, uplifting energy, which we don't always associate with Saturn. But again, Saturn rewards responsibility and commitment, and where you've been putting in the work and just keep showing up, even on the days that suck, even on the days that are hard and tough, and you're like, I don't want to keep doing this. Saturn keeps us in the game. Saturn keeps us on a path, because that's the path of growth, accomplishment, and achievement. And so Saturn could be showing you where you have elevated, what you have energetically outgrown, what you really are complete with, and how you're moving forward or moving on, because you have learned the lesson. You've closed out the karma. You're done with certain patterns or energies or choices. And this also basically comes down to the internal energies that you're no longer living from. The choices you're making for your own spiritual growth, where you could have a sense now of, okay, I'm done with that cycle. I'm done with that chapter in my life. I'm done with that pattern. I'm done with that part of myself. That part of my energy taught me a lot. That part of my consciousness or my choices really showed me how certain things unfold, or what the consequences might be, what then happens as a result of a certain choice. And so this is where Saturn is a wise teacher, and even though it can feel strict and challenging and you've got to have a lot of discipline, Saturn will give you the pat on the back and help you see how much you've done that has taken you even further than you realized. So Saturn in Pisces is going to bring up some report card status. There's things you're going to see about your journey, your growth, your path that perhaps you see with new eyes. There's also the energy here that Saturn in Pisces is going to bring you some choices around what you want to take forward and what you're done with within yourself, where you don't have energy anymore for certain parts of your life, for certain choices, certain behaviors, certain actions. It's like this energy of, been there, done that, and I'm okay just letting it go. And we are meant to let things go. We are meant to allow certain parts of our lives to continually evolve. In fact, you could say all parts of our life are designed to continually evolve. But with this Saturn entering Pisces, it brings your attention to not only the Pisces energies in your chart, but also that house or houses in your chart. And this is where Saturn in Pisces closes things out so that you can take forward the spiritual lesson, the healing, the self-compassion. You can take forward what you are meant to understand, what you have healed, what you have lived through, and everything else goes. It's sort of like you could do a grand clearing out and just be sitting in this openness, but the openness is filled with spiritual wisdom. It's filled with a new understanding of what you were learning, maybe even understandings of the karma that was playing out or the unresolved energies you had with others. Maybe there's things here that you're understanding. This is how I was maturing in this cycle, or this is the part of my life that I was meant to understand through a spiritual lens. And one thing that's really important about Pisces energies is that it's where we surrender our ego. We surrender our humanness. We reconnect with our God self. We reconnect with our spirituality. We go into the energy. We quiet the mind, meditate, sit, listen, receive. And because of that, Saturn in Pisces can bring up a feeling that life gets quieter, life gets calmer. There's a sense of even sitting in the energies and just being in full surrender, riding the waves, allowing something to come in and come out. Saturn in Pisces asks us to trust ourselves, to pull back our energy, perhaps even feeling like you're becoming a hermit, and to understand what's going on within you that's valuable, important, special. This is what you're meant to take forward. And that means our humanness, our mind, ego, physical world experiences what we perceive are losses. We experience the transition of the energies. We experience a letting go. And this is designed to remind us that we're more than our human bodies or our ego or our individual self-identity. All of that is meant to be surrendered. And this can be really tough. This can be really big because that's how we naturally show up in the world. Just take a look at your driver's license. Just take a look at what you own or what has your name on it. Our self-identity is everywhere. It's how we build our lives. And here we are with another planet in Pisces asking us to step away from what no longer connects to your self-identity and to trust that. Allow that to be part of your spiritual growth. And so this can bring about some big spiritual lessons, some big karmic lessons. If you haven't been evolving energy, if you haven't been growing in your consciousness or making better choices, Saturn comes in and again shows you the report card of what isn't working, what hasn't been playing out, and where there's opportunities to change things and do them better, do them differently, do them from a new source of energy. So big spiritual energies here are where we're going to be held responsible. And this is where we have the opportunity to stay committed to our own energy, to our intuition, trusting ourselves, understanding the energetic components of what we're learning. And that can also assist us in where we have to let go, in where it can feel like parts of our self-identity are washing away, where the tides, the Pisces ocean tides, are removing something from a part of ourselves. And it gives us an opportunity to look at how we handle that experience, how we work with what we feel as loss, where we go emotionally, mentally, physically, spiritually when things are leaving, when there's a transition underway. And remember that part of Pisces is meant to lighten our load, is to not be dense or to feel like we're carrying so many burdens. And if we can go higher to see the spiritual perspective, that's what will truly support us. And if you have strong Pisces in your chart, especially in those 5 personal planets that I named, Sun, Moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, this transit of Saturn and Pisces is working with you more personally to have you check in with parts of your physical life and to honor what you're done with, what is leaving, what is changing. And this is where those planets in Pisces are going to have important life changes to make, especially planets or points from 0 to 7 degrees, since that's where Saturn will be traveling in 2023. So Saturn enters Pisces on March 7th, 2023, and travels all the way to 7 degrees, 13 minutes of Pisces until June 18th. Then stations retrograde and journeys back to 0 degrees of Pisces, where it stations direct November 4th, 2023, then moves ahead and will move into further degrees of Pisces in February 2024, meaning it moves past 7 degrees and actually travels up to 19 degrees of Pisces in 2024. So 2023, we only see Saturn going to 7 degrees. Planets are points, 0 to 7 degrees of Pisces. This is a big deal for you as Saturn hasn't been here for 30 years. There's something that you're meant to see, acknowledge, and be accountable for. There also could be a sense of, wow, look at how much I've changed. Look at how much I've evolved and grown in this part of myself, in this part of my life. And this is where you will at first perhaps need to let go of something, some part of your energy, some part of your experience, if you haven't done so. Now, if you've been resisting change, if you've been stuck in a loop or a pattern, if something has been in front of you and you haven't let go of it or you haven't used it as a tool or teacher for spiritual growth, Saturn comes in and tests it. And in Pisces, again, it tests the illusion. It shows you what isn't real. It shows you what you are ready to evolve or where you're ready to take more responsibility for your energy. Pisces can also have a lower consciousness of blame, self-pity, victim consciousness, and Saturn is going to come in and say, no more of that. It's time to take full ownership of this part of yourself and this part of your life. So there are some bigger life developments and changes for those planets or points in Pisces because Saturn is checking in on you, giving you that report card and wanting you to really stand in the authority of who you are. Now, the positive energy here is that this is where Saturn brings about manifestations of what those Pisces dreams are. Something you've been dreaming of, something you've been wanting, wishing, hoping for. You've done a lot of work around it. You've done the healing work. You focused on it. You're like, I want to manifest this. Saturn comes in and says, here you go. You've created this. You created it energetically first. You put energy towards it spiritually, and then it shows up in the physical world. Then it comes through as something that is alive and real in your life. And Saturn in Pisces is where you can have these manifestations. You can have these developments. You can have these things that are really strong and true if they're based on if you've been applying energy and attention to a part of your life that is connected to your spiritual growth in this lifetime, you've been hoping, wishing, praying, intending, doing the work, trusting, having faith. Also, you've been committed to this particular intention or manifestation. Saturn makes it real. Saturn provides physical manifestations. Saturn will show you as well what you've been waiting for to occur in divine timing, where you have been strongly committed to something that you know is for your best and highest good, that you can learn from and grow from and take forward. Saturn, again, wants us to understand the power of our energy and our commitments. And this is where you could have beautiful things develop because of the spiritual work you've done. So it is important to remember this as well. And to know that, yes, Saturn can bring about challenges, things we have to focus on. You have to apply more effort, work harder to get those results, but that always pays off. That's also the domain of Saturn and the power of Saturn in our physical world. So I'm going to continue discussing this theme in next Monday's podcast episode. That will be released on January 16th, 2023. And we'll talk about this even more because I think that it's important to see how Saturn in Pisces is going to be a powerful teacher, and that when we are open to working with this energy, when we're trusting it, when we're understanding how it fits into the bigger cycle of things, then we can really see what we're meant to step towards, what we're meant to manifest, what we're meant to experience, and again, what you're meant to let go of. So we will continue this topic next Monday. As always, thank you so much for joining me today. You can find out more about my latest astrology programs and courses over at mollymccord.online. And do please check out the 2023 Soul Growth Astrology program where we discuss Saturn in Pisces. We look at what is happening in your chart, what to be aware of, and more specifics. So I'll put that information below the show here. Wishing you a beautiful day ahead, and I look forward to continuing this conversation in our next Monday episode. Take good care, and I'll see you back here on Wednesday.